is gonna take 2 seconds.
No, it's not the car anymore.
I understand. Short one.
Huh?
That,
It's one thing.
as you get older,
24, 27.
we come full cycle.
Gentlemen, I can't see the clock.
Oh, excuse me.
6:30 tree.
Thank you.
A tree and a tree.
The mic's on.
I hear
Lights are
that.
on.
My voice is echoing.
I call city property, the committee meeting for city property claims to order at 6:33. That's fun to do. I have one piece of business for this evening. From the docket of February 17th, 2015, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $24.27 from account 112410005783000 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 11461000-592510 collector interest regarding appellate tax board or ATB cases concerning tax abatement settlements.
Second.
Thank you. I do have the backup documentation, Pete, if you need to take a look at it, but this is, as we go through the year, we go, Stan goes to the ATB cases, and we just have to make this transfer of the 2427.
2427's easier. Once it's not 2400.
Right, yes, a nice little small amount. Any questions or concerns?
None.
None. I'll move this for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the business for city property and claims. I call for an adjournment. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We are adjourned at 6:34.
Very good.
So it's either licensing or personal. Next.
I don't think I got anything anyway.
You have this to vote out committee and licenses.
So, it's up tonight?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do it next?
Yeah, you can do that right now.
7:05,
Yeah.
so I keep going.
I get along with.
No, we started at 6:30.
Yeah, this one started at 6:30 for these three.
Oh.
This one starts at 7. The rest is.
Call the licensing committee to order at 6:35. I have one motion this evening from the docket of February 3rd. Motion to approve the application of a new 2015 Class 2 auto license from State Auto Wholesalers, 885 Washington Street, Attleboro, Mass. For 7 customer parking, 34 display.
Second.
Any comments? We've already talked this over, and I have no concerns with it.
Just changing their name.
That's correct, and they were here to present that. All in favor?
Aye.
There's no one opposed, motion passes. And that's all I have for this evening. I close my committee at 6:36.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
And
Then we have personnel.
personnel, human services.
And
Nothing. You have anything for that?
I thought they.
Shannon's on her way, she's running a
Shannon's
little
running
late.
late.
Oh, okay. But the rest of the committee meetings aren't scheduled till 7.
Why, what was?
No, those
No,
are.
it's full council.
terrible.
These were the only ones who had business.
Oh, I'm
Right.
just going by the sheet.
Yeah. So personal and human services.
There's only three committees.
Oh, they have business
Right.
in committee.
Oh, I have business.
Oh, go ahead.
But, no, I'm not, according to the schedule,
That's
it's
the
not
next.
posted
That's
until
for,
7.
but that's next week's schedule.
No, it's
No, this
17th.
is for the 17th. We only had,
See, but that, the one for you guys says 6:30. These say 7.
I'm so confused.
So was I when I first looked at it, but I said, you know what? There's a half an hour difference.
I don't have that list.
I gotta bring
Could be 6:30 somewhere in the world.
Can I see it? Can I see the bigger list?
Sure.
I don't have that one.
Oh well. It's
Okay,
that.
thank you.
It was in my box with this one.
It was not in the mall.
I don't know. But I'm gonna, I'll talk about
Can
it.
you sign this while you're strolling about?
Posted the rest of the committee meetings after 7. Definitely had to
That had
get
this
them out.
Right. Yep. Linda, I'm sorry. Do you have a copy of my new business?
What are you doing here?
Hold on. I have one more place to check.
This is as confusing as it's looking.
How are ya?
We need 0
Not bad.
precipitation for that.
Thank you. I'd like to call Personnel and Human Services to order at 6:50. We have one motion that we need to bring out this evening from the docket of February 17th, 2015. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $15,527 from Fund 1000-359000, undesignated fund, general government free cash, to account 16101-000-511000, library salary and wages, to fund the Attleboro Public Libraries collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Belair. As you know, we had done transferred some money for all the other departments for their collective bargaining agreements. The library came in a little later in the mayor's communication, I believe it was last week, 2 weeks ago. Last time, yeah, with all the snowstorms, last time we had a full council on the mayor's communication. And so this is to fund just the library portion of that. Any questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And I believe Ms. Hegney will bring that out later on this evening. So that's all the business for Personnel and Human Services. I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. 6:51. Thank you.
Good job, Brian. Thanks.
Like I've done this before.
Yes,
Yeah, I'll hold my comments.
Once or twice.
Frank is stuck in that traffic again today.
We're in a recess until...
If the highways are anything like the secondary roads or our main roads in Attleboro, it's gonna be terrible.
Highways and stuff too, don't forget, you got all that extra traffic coming out of Boston. Can't, they're not relying on the
Okay, we have to get serious.
Yeah.
I'd like to call the Transportation and Traffic Committee to order at 7 PM. I have one amendment that I would like to propose for an item that we already have in committee. Let me read the way it is now, and then I will ask for a motion to amend. That stop signs be placed on unapproved roads where subdivisions are still being developed but not finished by order of the police chief on a temporary basis until the roadways are completed, at which time they would be subject to the current process of approval through the public hearing process to be accepted after the streets have been inspected and approved as city streets. Now, the reason I need to amend one word is because I did get a email from Gary Erasian, the city planner, stating that in the very first sentence where it said stop signs could be placed on unapproved roads, he said I used the wrong word. It's unaccepted roads. Mm-hmm. So I would entertain a motion to amend that first sentence of the motion to say from saying unapproved roads to unaccepted roads.
Second.
Thank you. And obviously, as I said, the reason why is because Mr. Erasian did send me the fact that in his explanation, he says the planning board has approved the plans of the roadway. But until it is inspected after the work is done and it has been accepted by the city as a city roadway, I would be using the wrong language in the motion because it doesn't reflect what the actual procedure is. So, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I have a couple of updates. One is in regards to the motion that I was just talking about. I had gotten permission from President Cook to seek a opinion from the city solicitor regarding whether or not the two separate procedures that we use now, one which is temporary stop signs that are placed by the authority of the police chief, and the fact that they would be placed on, get back to that, to unaccepted roadways, whether or not we would be violating any kind of laws or whether or not we would be placing the city in a liability situation by doing that. And then we would go through the normal process, if it's okay, and then we would group those two separate procedures together so that once the roadways were approved by the superintendent of public works and the building inspector, that everything had been done according to the plan approved by the planning board. Then we would go through, we'd get a list from Chief Hegney of all of the temporary stop signs which have been placed in the locations they have been placed in, and then individually or collectively, however the opinion suggests we do it, then we would go through the public hearing process at that time as we normally do now. So I'm just got that off today to the city solicitor, so that's in the works as far as getting an opinion on that. And lastly, I just wanted to, I wanted to comment on the last time we had a committee meeting and I was talking about the possibility, I was talking about Harvard Street, the discontinuance of Harvard Street. And since there hadn't been anyone to speak at the public hearing at that time in favor of the discontinuance, I believe my words in that evening were that I wasn't sure of how, if the administration had changed their position or not. And I did receive an email from the mayor while he was still in DC, letting me know that just because he wasn't here to speak in favor, he has not changed his position. He is still in favor of the discontinuance. But he goes on to state that I could feel free to express his words in the public setting, and that he would remain open to any further discussion if the council wishes to discuss alternatives. That was the same night that it was brought up by Councilor Churchill and myself, where there may be some kind of a compromise. So I just wanted to publicly state that that could remain a possibility, and in fact, have already put some feelers out. So, which I don't think is appropriate for me to go into right now, but we'll see how that works out, and hopefully it'll come out to the benefit of everyone. Yes, Councilor Brady.
Have we heard anything from the planning board? Have
Not
we
yet.
received
No,
anything from
not to
them?
my knowledge, unless we get something this evening.
Okay.
I think they have 21 days, and I don't know that it's been the 21 days yet.
Their meeting was canceled for snow.
Right.
That's right, yeah. So it may have delayed it a little bit more as well. But, I mean, regardless, we do make allowances just as they do.
Sure.
You know, for weather-related things that none of us has any control over, so. Yes, Councilor Church.
Chairman, going back to the temporary stop signs,
Yes.
is there a termination time on that?
No, not usually. When the police chief does that, there is not a time when that stop sign, based on his placement or the request of the placement, there is not a timeline when it would expire.
Okay.
So if the subdivision was under construction for, well, let's just for a figure to use, let's say it's 3 to 5 years. And at the beginning of the construction, as roadways within a subdivision would become developed and you would have a certain amount of traffic going back and forth, I think at that time, and I can't speak for the chief, but I believe at that time, if you have a steady flow of traffic in and out during the peak periods that you would normally have in any neighborhood, I think that would probably be the most appropriate time for him to make that request. But there would be no expiration on that, because not knowing when the subdivision would be completed.
So the signs would stay up until the street's accepted, and we either say, we vote, after the public hearing, we either vote it in as a permanent sign or not, and then it comes down, or stays?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
But until we get an opinion from the city solicitor, I would hesitate to even do that. I want to make sure that we're not, because it would be an unaccepted area. I wouldn't want to make that decision without the legal opinion, so that we don't put the city in a situation of liability. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:07. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee on Public Works canceled for this evening.
Committee on
Go ahead.
Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters is canceled for tonight.
Committee on Budgets is canceled for this evening.
Yeah, so we have 5.
Committee on Zoning and Land Use is canceled this evening.
Okay.
We have these 5, but this one's gonna be.
So,
Okay.
and that
somebody
one's gonna
doing
be-
public safety? on behalf
So we
of
really
Lon?
just
Oh,
have
I
these
can do it.
Yeah.
The committee meeting for Public Safety and Emergency Management is canceled for this evening.
Special committee on dog parks.
Cancel, please. Thank you.
So we only have one committee left, and that's capital improvements.
The Committee on Capital Improvements is canceled for the night. There you go.
Okay, that completes the committee docket.
We'll be opening up the regular meeting momentarily. See people in the audience, a couple minutes for President Cook to finish his paperwork. Okay. Due to the weather, he was a little late tonight. One.
Bingo.
Call the municipal council meeting for Tuesday, February 17th to order. I'd ask that you please stand and join in the salute to our flag. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Just a reminder to my colleagues and those in attendance, if you have a cell phone, if you please turn it off as they do interfere with our broadcast. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve the records of the meeting of January 6, 2015.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the records of the meeting of January 15th, 2015.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. I entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. The reason that I'm suspending the rules is they were, after the meeting last week being canceled, we rescheduled a lot of the committee meetings earlier this evening, but I know not everybody is here yet for this meeting, and I know that there is a possibility that one of those committees might be meeting. If so, we'll take a recess later during the meeting. So that's my reason for doing the suspending the rules for that one reason. Okay.
We canceled them all.
Excuse me.
I think everything's done, but.
Well, there was one counselor who asked me to, specifically, who was not here right now, who asked me to hold in case they were going to have a meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so that's my reason. That person is not here right now.
Okay.
Okay. So this matter requires a roll call vote. The vote will begin with Counselor Denley, please.
Mr. Denley.
Yes.
Mr. Churchill.
Yes.
Mr. Waite.
Yes.
Mr. Kirby.
Yes.
Mr. Blair.
Yes.
Mr. Thibodeau.
Yes.
Mrs. Parika.
Yes.
President Cook.
Yes.
8 yeas. 8, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
0 nays.
The motion passes. We're operating under suspended rules. So who's not here yet? Conti, Cooper. Okay. There are 5 public hearings that have been posted for this evening. I just want to mention the first one, the public hearing relative to the layout and acceptance of road redeem, continuing that to March the 3rd. And again, I'm continuing to follow up on that. At this time, I'd ask Ms. Sharper to read the notice for the first public hearing, please.
Public hearing relative to amending the personnel rules and regulations for exempt and non-represented employees by replacing the current longevity amount to the following amount and adding the new Article 21 light duty.
Thank you. The public hearings will first ask for those who are in favor of the motion to come forward, then those who are in opposition, and then those who are neither for nor against. This will be the format we'll follow for all of the public hearings this evening. When you, we'd ask that you come to the podium and that you give us your name and address for the record, and that you address your comments to the council as a collective body rather than any one individual councilor. So relative to amending the personnel rules and regulations, is there anyone here to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in favor relative to amending the rules, the personnel rules and regulations? Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Is there anyone to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none.
I'm Vice Chair.
That's it.
Go ahead.
Right. Mr. Kirby, as the acting chair, do you see any reason to keep this public hearing open?
With no one coming forward, I say we can close it.
Okay. Thank you. Based on the recommendation of the acting chair of the Personnel and Human Services Committee, I declare that public hearing closed. We're going to a reading of the next public hearing.
Public hearing relative to the installation of stop signs at the intersection of Dale Avenue eastbound and westbound where it intersects with Woodcrest Drive and Edgecliff Avenue.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Again, if you come to the podium, please, and give us your name and address for the record, please. Thank you for coming out on a summer evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Donald Forge, and I live at 33 Woodcrest Drive, rear.
Okay.
And we've lived there for 40 years, and hundreds of times I've almost gotten hit there. Councilor Thibodeau, about 15 years ago, tried to get a stop sign there, and with the state, it wasn't feasible. And now I understand that it would be. And it's much needed because a lot of cars cut from County Street through there to avoid the light at County Square to get downtown. And it's a lot of traffic, and they're not familiar with the area. And there's a lot of close calls. It's in need of one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the gentleman? Councilor Thibodeau, anything? Okay.
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone else here to speak in favor relative to, excuse me, to installing a stop sign at the intersection of Dale Avenue? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Councilor Thibodeau, do you see any need to keep this public hearing open?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. So based on the testimony and also the recommendation of Councilor Thibodeau, Chair of Transportation and Traffic, I'm going to declare that public hearing closed. Mr. Thibodeau, did you want to say anything about what the next procedure would be?
Yes, Mr. President. We won't be voting on this evening, but our next business meeting, we, as a council, will be voting on whether to approve the location or not. After that happens, there'll be a period of 48 hours where if anyone wants to reconsider that issue, it can be reconsidered by any city councilor at that point. The mayor would not sign it until after that period of time has gone by. Once he signs it, it's usually a 30-day period before it goes into effect. And either during that period or shortly after that period is when the stop signs themselves will be installed.
Okay, thank you. All right. So it won't be something we will be voting on tonight, but it will be something coming up in the future. Okay. Again, thank you for coming out. So we'll go to the reading of the third public hearing, please.
Public hearing to consider revoking the 2015 Class 2 auto license of AOK Used Cars LLC, doing business as AOK Car Sales, 650 Washington Street, South Attleboro, Mass., for 57 display spaces and 12 customer parking spaces.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this application? Yes, if you'd come to the podium, please, and give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul and address 650 Washington Street, and I'm a member owner of AOK.
Okay. Do you have that name?
I got it backwards.
He's got, yeah.
I don't think he's in favor.
Are you for the license or against?
With the
I'm for it.
revocation, it's a revocation.
Yeah,
The
so
public hearing
Right.
with regard to the
So
revocation.
this is for
You
people
should be
who
speaking
want this to be
against.
revoked.
Jamie,
Oh, yes. Sir, I take it that you're in opposition to that?
Yeah, he's the owner.
You're the owner, so you're in opposition. Okay. We will be doing, after you hear those in favor of revocation, then we'll be hearing those in opposition. Okay. Thank you. Sorry for the confusion. So this is in favor of the revocation. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the revocation? If so, if you'd come to the podium, please. And again, if we could have your name and address for the record, please.
Hi there, I'm Jamie McKenna of 18 Newton Street in South Attleboro. And I had purchased a car through AOK this past summer in 2014. And what was guaranteed to be fixed was not. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I knew my 30 days was coming up and it still wasn't fixed. So I came to the town, and Mr. Churchill actually mediated for us and did the best he could, and AOK refused to mediate and just fix what's wrong with the car. And then I ended up taking it to the arbitration at Northeastern University, and they ruled in my favor for him to basically refund me most of the money for the car. So I'm waiting on payment on that and to return the vehicle. And my fear is he's not going to pay that, and I'm at a loss of what to do next. So I'm against his license because I just don't want this to happen to any other citizen here in Attleboro,
Okay.
because it's a headache.
Does anybody have any questions? Councilor Churchill?
Jamie, after the Tuesday meeting, where both the owner and yourself, we sat down, and it was a tentative plan, I realized that it came out to be no acceptance on his part, but was there any other communication between yourself and him after that meeting?
After that, no, I actually had to buy another car and take out a loan for that because the car that I had through him wasn't safe. It was stalling on the highway. So that's when I ended up getting advice to go to the state for the lemon law.
So the only information you got was when I told you that he said no?
That's it.
That was it? No other communication? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Councilor Hagan?
Hi, thank you, Jamie. Thanks for I've known Jamie for a long time, and I know her character. And I'm sorry this happened to you. And we'll listen to everything that someone has to say. And I see you have a child too, so it's.
He was in the car when it stalled on the highway. I have two
What
others.
happened exactly?
The car, it kept stalling on the highway, and here I am doing, 55, 60 miles an hour, and all of a sudden all the lights go on in the car. My wheels still work, so I had the opportunity to drive to the breakdown lane. But my kids were panicking in the car. And, one time it was in Providence, and getting off Atwells Ave, I have no other way to even get off that exit. And there was a big truck behind me. I mean, I was lucky nothing slammed in the back of me. And then within 2 minutes of sitting there trying to get the car going again, I started up and it went, and I went on my way. But it was very unsafe, and I just wanted the problems fixed, and it could have been all a done deal.
Thank you, because I know you wouldn't have come unless it
At
was
all.
such a serious issue.
At all, and being born here, it's just a shame that somebody's in our town selling these unsafe cars. It's upsetting.
Thank you.
Thank you, honey.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Councilor Churchill?
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
When I had talked to both you, Jamie, and the other gentleman, and I apologize if there's anything that I didn't give you, but I'm looking at the report that I sent to the councilors, and as I said then, that even if there is a revocation, it's not going to help your payment.
Right.
I mean, that was the message I was trying to get to both parties, that it's
Yeah.
not either party's favor to have to go through this. And now we're in a public forum.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what happens tonight, everything's going to depend on your case, I guess, with the
That's
civil
right.
court.
I just wanted to come here and give my case because I don't think you should have his license.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, thank you. Councilor Parika?
Thanks for coming tonight,
Thank you.
Jamie. Just as I reread your letter, I mean, it was more than just a single incident. It was more than just a highway incident. It was, he had the car for a long period of time, came back on an empty gallon, no gas in your tank, and your odometer had gone over 240 miles, and he had it for a long time, never brought it back in the appropriate working condition. So it was just, you tried in good faith to try and
I really
work with him
did.
to make this happen.
Yep.
And
let
you
him know
went
I was
through-
doing it. I trusted him.
When did your arbitration go through?
I just got the letter I believe it was last Monday or Tuesday, and I have it here if you guys need a copy.
If we
Yep.
could.
It would be helpful if we had
Yep,
that. So
I have
when
all
you
that.
finish your testimony, if you could speak to our admin person,
Mm-hmm.
just to get a copy of it, I want to make sure that all the council see it,
Absolutely.
especially that committee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That concludes my comment.
Okay,
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Come here. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the revocation? If you come forward to the podium, please, and give us your name and address. Did you get that full address and name?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Judith Katie, and I live in East Bridgewater. And I too purchased a car from Paul from AOK, and I just want my money back. I purchased a Trailblazer, and I could not get a sticker from it at all. I kept getting a failed, rejected sticker, and I brought it back saying this is a list of items from Sullivan Tires, saying, that it needed ball joints, it had rot in the body frame, it was unsafe. I have 2 children too. There was a big hole, right in the wheel well of the car. I said, I don't want it. Either fix it or, get me a sticker. He tried to fix it, and it was still unsafe. So he wrote a letter saying that I could drop the car off and he would fix it for me. And I'm just still waiting for my money back. And still no money back yet.
Are there any questions? Councilor Blair, and then Councilor Parker, and then
When
Councilor
did you
Thibodeau,
purchase
and then Councilor George.
I purchased this car December 12th, December 11th
Of last year?
Of 2014?
of 2014, yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Councilor Thibodeau? No. Councilor Thibodeau?
When you didn't, so I'm trying to just understand, you returned the car.
Yep.
Did he return the car to you, or does he still have the car?
He has the car, I have the title for it.
You have the title for it,
Yeah.
but you're waiting to get your
My money back, yeah.
that you
Because
paid for the car.
I gave him cash for the vehicle, and he gave me a check back. The check actually bounced in my account. So now my bank is actually trying to go after me because I'm negative $5,000 in my bank. So my bank is trying to pretty much like go after me because I'm at fault with my bank because his check was not good. So I have no bank account, and I don't know.
May follow up,
Yes,
Mr.
Councilor
President.
Thibodeau.
Have you contacted the Attorney General's office in their Consumer Affairs Department? They have a special department within the Attorney General's office that deals with Class 1, what we call Class 1 and Class 2 licensed dealers, Class 1 being brand-new cars, Class 2 being used cars. They have certain powers at the state level, which exceed the powers that we have on the local level, which they can order certain things to be done that we could not at this level. And I would encourage you, or anyone else that has a problem with any dealer, to always contact the State Attorney General's office and find out what kind of benefits are available to you or services through that office.
Yeah, I tried contacting them, but they said it was more so like a larcen than anything because it had to do with like a check fraud thing. Then, because now it had to do with like writing a bad check, because now we're dealing with the whole, he wrote a check that I tried to cash in my bank. I took the money out, I had to buy a new car. So now I owe my bank. I mean, it's just a big circle,
It keeps snowballing.
Yeah, it really is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Parker, and then Councilor
Hold
Churchill.
on, hold just a couple more questions. If
Oh,
that's
okay, yeah,
okay.
Okay, Councilor Parker.
Thank you. Have you contacted the police with regards to this?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
What was that?
I
Councilor?
actually went down to the police station and I actually made one of the police officers call him to try and like call a bluff, but it didn't really work.
Fine, you can go to.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Churchill?
Thank you, Mr.
You're
President.
welcome.
Judy, I have Jamie's information on why her car didn't pass. Can I get it from you? Do you have a list of why you,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
well, the president's going to tell you, just give it to
Right, let's
the
give it to the
administrative
admin
assistant, she'll put it in my box.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I like to give them everything.
Everything that you have, I need to see,
Okay.
Okay.
All right, yep.
including the incident. I've got the information, but if you've got
Yeah.
information from your bank and so forth, I need that.
Okay. All right.
Unless it's something you don't want to show me, okay?
Yeah, no.
Anything else, Councilor Conde? Churchill?
No, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Okay,
Okay,
thank you. Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor? Anyone else here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Okay, if you come forward, please, and give us your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Paul Allen. I'm the owner on 650 AOK used cars. And owners, the address 650 Washington Street, Attleboro. Should I start with the first? with Jamie?
Thank you for coming in, first off. And then if there's any information, again, as you know, this is a hearing to determine revocation, so any information that you feel would be helpful to your case. this would be the
I would
time
like to
present it.
respond to what they were saying.
Okay.
So first, Miss Jamie McKenna came and bought a car for me probably 8 months ago. Drove the car, loved the car, everything went great. Whatever we promised, there was a couple of things that needed to get done. We promised her that we fixed the car. She came back and dropped off the car at our shop. Dropped the car off at our shop for about 2 days. That matter of 2 days, she went to the police station, tried to report the car stolen. Meanwhile, the police said, why are you reporting car stolen that you dropped off at AOK to get repaired? This is not making sense. We can't take that report. And we won't take that report. We know AOK, we know Paul, we know where the car is, so there's no sense in reporting the car stolen. So she came back down. I delivered the car to her with an inspection sticker that the car passed inspection and everything. She took the car and she kept saying the car's not running right. Every time she brings the car back, we drive the car. There's no check engine light. The car is running perfect. We don't find any issues. She seems to say the car's doing this, the car's doing that. Every time it comes to us, there's no problem. Passed inspection fine. The 30-day warranty was up. So I tried to help as much. I've gone as far as I can. I've done everything I can by the book I can as a dealer. I sell probably 150 cars a year, sir. You know, and a lot of my customers, they are very happy. They all come back to me. I've helped a lot of people buy cars, and I'm not here to help people not buy cars or to give them aggravation. You know, but they use cars, and you know, our responsibility, we get the sticker for them, we make the car safe, but then they have a 30-day warranty. What happens after that on a car with 130, 140,000 miles is out of any dealer's hands. So then we met with Mr. Churchill. We had a few, you know, back and forth. We conversated about the deal, and nothing came out of that because her car had been checked by other mechanics already. So there's been too many hands in the car already. And all of a sudden the car, she put 11,000 miles on that car since she bought it from me. So if the car's not running right, and how'd you put 11,000 miles on it? If within 6 months, less than 6 months, 11,000 miles on that car. So obviously the car is running fine. Because if it wasn't, if you have a transmission problem, it wouldn't be running 11,000 miles. So then she went to the Attorney General. This was just recently. And we went down there, and I sat on one end, she sat on one end, and, you know, what do you have to say? What do you have to say? I said my piece, she said her piece, and, you know, I just got a letter recently saying that the vote went for her, and I have to return her money, which is fine, not a problem. They said I have to, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. She's saying, no, I'm not returning her money. We haven't gotten to that point yet. We just got the letter. They say you have 21 days to do it. So that's where we're at with that. That's it's been going on for 8 months, and I feel we took care of that matter. And that's where we are with that matter, sir. With Judy, Judy came, bought a car for me. You know, car was registered already. Car got registered in her name, and so it's not like the car wasn't registered. Taxes were paid, car registered and everything. She went to a place that they check the cars, and they gave her a list of what the car needs to pass inspection. And she called me and gave me the list. I said, no problem, I'll fix it. What do you want to do? You have an option. She said, I'll fix the car. She said, no, I don't want to fix the car. I want to return it. I said, but Judy, you already bought a car. My duty as a dealer is to fix the car. If I refuse to fix the car, then I have to take it back. But first, the law, I have to fix it to make sure it passes inspection before you can just drop it off to me, just ask for your money. I said, if you don't want the car, what I can do, okay, you can bring me the car here. You can hold on to the title. I'll give you a check. Hold on to the check until I get the money. I sell the car, I do something with it, and then you can deposit the check. 2 days after, she went and deposited the check. And the money wasn't in there. So we kept talking, and we were in touch for this whole time, for back and forth and email and everything. So I started to have some action on the car. I called her up. I said, I have $1,200 in a bank check for you. Come down, get the $1,200 for me, which she did. I gave her a $1,200 bank check, and I told her I'm working on getting you money. I'll get a customer for it, I'll sell it, and I'll get your money. You keep the title. When I give you your money, you give me the title, and and everybody is good there. But the whole thing from the beginning, I wanted to fix it. The option of taking it back is not an option in the used car business unless we refuse to fix it. And I didn't refuse to fix it. I mean, again, folks, I sell so many cars. I'm not here to, over 300 cars, we've ever had 2 complaints, that I sold of used cars. So I want the best solution. I work with the people to get it done, as long as it's fair and not running away from anybody and from my obligation or anything like that. So, I'm here to do my obligation. I always go by the book. I've helped so many people get loans, put them in cars. I had a lot of comebacks. I had some people want to speak on my behalf tonight, but with the weather like that and stuff, they all have kids. I don't want to force them to come out. But I try everything to the best I can. I mean, I opened this business 2 years ago. I put my life savings in that business, everything I got. And I have 3 little babies and a wife too, so I'm not out there to take anybody's money. I work with everybody, sir. I really do. And I'm working with Judy now to get her money. Our last email was just today. And I told her, I said, within 2 to 3, 4 days, I should have a check for you for the rest of the money. So because she didn't like it, I gave her the option of, okay, how about you leave it here and I'll sell it and I'll get you the money. And lately with business, honestly, has been pretty bad with the snowstorms. And not even a month ago, I had a previous employee who I fired for stealing deposits, doing stuff, came back and ruined every single car, damaged it. Every single car I have on the lot. So he kind of paralyzed me for like a couple of months. I couldn't do anything. On top of it, business has been really slow. I go there 14 hours a day, sir. I work so hard just to get going and keep my family afloat and stuff. So I'll work with them. I have nothing against anybody, sir. I'm not running from my responsibilities or nothing, and I always face my problems. So in both situations, the solution is here. We're working on it. I have been in touch with them. Sometimes I try to go overboard to help, like if I was to refuse taking back the Judy's car, I could have, because there's nothing that says I have to take it back. It just says that I have to fix it. Much easier for me to fix it than to have to take it back. But because she didn't feel like she wanted, if it wasn't registered, it would have been much easier to take it back. But it's already registered in her name, plated, taxes are paid, everything. So my job was just to make sure we take it back and put a sticker on it. But since she didn't want it, I said, okay, if you bring me the car back, put it on the lot, and we even wrote a letter saying that the vehicle is on the lot because it didn't pass inspection. I said nothing about returning money or anything like that. But I'm trying to help her so she can get her money back. And that's where we are here, folks, with these 2 situations.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Councilor Churchill, and then Councilor Parika. Councilor Churchill.
Sir, how many cars do you think you've sold that haven't passed inspection?
Probably 5%.
And the result was that you took them back, got them passed?
Yes, always, sir. We have to.
Could I have a list of those satisfied customers?
Dissatisfied customers off the top?
Well, all the people who you had to fix their cars, did you keep a record?
Of course, but it's not funny.
You don't have to have it now, but I'd like to see that.
Oh, of course, yeah. Yeah, of course. No doubt.
I was involved with Mrs. McKenna, and there was no solution. I was disappointed in that. I thought we could solve that, but we didn't. And so, refresh my memory. What's going on with Judy? You're going to pay her all her money back? Is that what you're telling me?
Correct. I was gonna either fix her car.
But you are now in the position.
I am. Yeah, and she'll tell you that we've been in touch about that.
And my last question is, have you resolved the problem with the building inspector for the occupancy of a building that you don't have an occupancy permit for?
For the yeah, we have. Well, when I leased the building, sir, it was like that, and I leased it just like that. So none of it was to my knowledge. I leased it just the way you're looking
on your plot plan.
I'm sorry?
When you submit a plot plan, I wasn't the licensing chairman at the time, when you submitted a plot plan, if that building was being used, and my fellow councils will correct me, that should have been indicated that was part of the license, and it was not. Now, I understand that he talked to as early as 3:15 today? Mm-hmm. The inspector came down?
Yes.
So, the building does not have an occupancy permit, nor does the tenant have a special permit for major or auto repairs. Okay, so you have to resolve that. It's another issue you have to
I will.
resolve.
I called
It goes
the-
against your license.
Called the landlord and I said to him, "Why you lease me a building that I can't use? I didn't understand that."
Sure.
When I came in, it was just like that, and you know
If you
we.
submitted it in the plot plan, that would have been part of the license. It wasn't on the landlord, it was on you. You renting the building, but you're including it in your business, you have to include it in your license application,
Okay.
which was not included. My question is, why not?
Because I didn't know that when they leased me the building, they leased me with the garage. They built the garage there. I didn't. I only came in 2 years ago. It's been there 4 years sitting that way.
So you've been leasing this building for 4 years?
2 years.
2 years?
But it's
And you've
been
been
there
storing
for
cars
4
in
years.
there and working on transmissions for 2 years?
No, actually, I came in afterwards, about probably almost a year ago. But
So
the
in the
garage
meantime-
were there, sir.
I'm
The
sorry.
garage were there.
When you first leased the building,
Yes.
what did you do with the building?
Where we stored cars in there, we cleaned cars.
Okay, so it was part of your business?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
part of my lease, yes.
That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you. Council Parica and then Council Blair. Council Parica.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to get a little bit more clarification on Judy's situation. When exactly did you take her car back?
In December.
Do you have a date?
Probably around end of December.
Okay. So we've sat and listened to you say that I've sold so many cars and that you have I understand with the snow, it may be a little less robust at this present time, but it may not have been so much in December. So when you accepted Judy's car back, instead of refunding her fully at that time, you made an agreement with her to refund her when you resold the car. But it was made almost impossible for you to resell the car because it was licensed and insured and the taxes were paid and things like that.
No, it was to sell the car.
Okay. And is that...
She took her plates. She took her plates.
So is
from
that
her.
a common practice, that you would give her a check that she couldn't cash?
No, she wasn't supposed to cash that check.
How much was the amount of money that you gave her?
$49.95.
So you're giving her a check that you know is no good, and that she had to
But
wait
see,
to
the
hold...
conversation before, give her the check, and I said, hold on to that check, so you don't keep coming down to me. And when I sell the car and the funds are there, you can go deposit it.
So when you put if I may, I'm sorry, if you put a car that you did state, that specifically stated that it will not pass inspection, would it be reasonable to expect that you wouldn't be able to get $4,900 for that vehicle?
But we were willing to fix it, ma'am. The car's worth more than $4,900, but we were willing to fix it, but she didn't want to fix it. She didn't give me the option of fixing it.
So if you sold the car and you couldn't make $4,900, what would happen to her check?
I couldn't make $4,900, I'm not following you.
So if you could not sell the vehicle as it was on the lot for the
I would
$4,900,
pay the difference for her, because I would pay the difference.
and what kind of, because checks are only good for 120 days, like how long did you think it was going to take for you to sell that vehicle?
A month and a half. I mean, I already started paying her.
How much have
Just,
you paid her so far?
$1,200,
$1,200.
yes. Well,
Thank
maybe
you.
I shouldn't have taken the car to begin with. That's my fault.
Or maybe you shouldn't have given her a check in the wrong amount for that. But that's fine. I'm complete. Thank you.
Council Hagan.
Did Mr. Blair have a question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Blair, and then Ms. Hickman, I'm sorry.
What,
Thank you.
this building that Mr. Churchill's referring to?
Yes, sir.
How long have you leased it?
I leased it for 2 years, sir.
2 years?
Yes,
What
sir.
kind of equipment was in that building when you leased it?
There was a lift, there was detailing equipment, and they had cut a garage door in the building and put ramps to go up.
Okay, the lift was in there?
Yes, sir. And I leased it from Mr. I sublease. The landowner, his name is Curtis Douglas, but I sublease it from Alfred Del Prado because Alfred bought it from him in 2010. He had a 4-year lease. So when I came in 2013, January 1st, I bought the business from Alfred, which in return he subleased to me. So I sublease from Alfred, and Alfred pays Mr. Curtis Douglas.
The lift was in the garage
Yes, sir.
when you leased it,
Yes, sir.
but you subleased it, so you don't know who installed the lift then?
Oh, Fred. Fred, I'm sure installed the lift.
The one that subleased it to you?
Correct, sir. Yes. Because it was being used as a garage.
You all set?
All right.
Council Hagan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First of all, I just want to say, I know when you had just said you have a family, and we don't base our decisions just upon whether or not, that's not why we're going to revoke or keep your license, but we have to listen to all the facts. And there can't be emotion in our job, so we have to listen to just the facts, okay? And the first thing is when Councilor Churchill had talked about the building, what he's trying to say is you could have that building on the lot, but that's not for your used car business. You need a special permit, so that's two separate issues. And we do have departments here in the city clerk over here, and her staff is very diligent in explaining the whole process to everybody. So that's a separate issue for the special permit. You can have that ability to fix cars, but you need the permit to do that. So what we're doing right now is basically for you to buy and sell cars to the citizens here, okay? And the second thing is when you're talking about a check, did you post date the check?
No.
Okay, because that's an issue for me too. If you had told her to hold the check, all you had to do is post-date a check, and she wouldn't have been able to go and cash it. So I think one of the issues I have is you wrote the date saying, well, don't go cash this, but you wrote the date that would say, I have the funds in my account now. So you should have post-dated a check, because that is legal to do. As she had said, there's so many days to cash the check. And then the second thing is when Mrs. McKenna came up, can you explain why they made the decision for her side? Because I know I'm listening to you say, well, she said this, I said this, and it's a he, she said, but she went further, and she got a ruling in her decision. So why would they go with her decision and support her?
From what I
Did you have
read the
paperwork that
letter,
explained?
it said that she had a paper from a shop, list from a different shop, supporting the stuff that she had read, and that was why. And that was just, I was just there on my own.
Okay, because that would be something else too that we're going to take into consideration. As I said, this is a factual job. We can't have emotions when we make decisions.
But my thing with that is, if you have a broken car, it doesn't drive 12,000 miles. It just doesn't. If you have a broken transmission, it doesn't drive 12,000 miles.
And I can
It's
say
either broken or it's not.
I've had the similar circumstances with the transmission, and I'm not a mechanic. We actually are lucky enough to have a former owner of a mechanic here tonight that I do rely heavily upon his opinion on these things too. But like I said, I'm just looking factual.
Sure, okay, ma'am.
The factual things, and don't take anything personal
No,
on decisions.
I just tell you what I know,
I
and
just want to let you know that,
trying,
okay? We're
I
not
mean,
bad people,
I'm
but
up
it's
here,
factual.
up trying to
Thank
get
you.
my license revoked, and it's my livelihood, and
But just thank you.
Thank you. Council Denley and then Council Churchill. Council Denley, please.
Yeah, thank you. I just had a question. On the license application, are
Yes.
you the principal owner?
yes, sir.
Is it like a LLC or an
It's an LLC, sir.
It's an LLC, but you're the principal owner of the LLC?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So legally, when we're thinking about revoking licenses, Ms. Hegney is a former license chair. I was a license chair, and now Mr. Churchill is. We have to look at, is the principal owner a proper person to own a business license or a car dealer's license? And I think my concerns are that the site plan of the lot was inaccurate, and so that causes licensing and permit and building inspection problems. And your response was kind of like, well, I didn't know, but I'll fix it now. So that gives me a little concern. And then
Well,
also, when you own a business and you write a check, it's concerning to me that that check was uncashable because it bounced. And I was wondering what made you think that that would be a good business practice?
Well, making it sound like I wrote checks and they just bounced. left and right. That's not the case.
Did the check bounce?
That check bounced.
Okay.
But again, we had an understanding for her not to deposit it.
Okay.
So I mean, I thought I was doing a good thing by, taking the car back and not forcing her to fix it, because that wasn't an option to take the car back. I chose to take the car back so I can help her get the money back. My decision was either just to fix the car. I would have took the car, fixed it, put a sticker on it. Here you go. Thank you. We're all set. I fixed the car. That's what the law tells me to do. So, but when she said she don't want the car, I said, well, I can maybe help you, get your money back, because it's already been registered. If the car wasn't registered at all, then it would still be my car. I would just take it back in my name, still be in my name. Here's the money you gave me, and it would have been over, sir.
Okay.
And when I applied for a sales license, every year when we renew the sales license, there's a question that says, do you repair cars on your lot? And that question was always says yes. And, and from what I was told by my landlord, by the gentleman that was there before me, that if you're not fixing cars, if you're not bringing business off the street, if you're just working on your own cars, it was okay. That's what I was told by the landlord. That's why he leased the building to begin with. And he was under that impression. He leased it for 4 years like that, for the guy before me and the guy after me. And twice I came here and I renewed my sales license, and the same question I would answer, yes, I repair my own cars. And we have the map of the building and where my sales office is and where that building is, right on the side. And it was always in there with it. But it was news to me because, again, when I took it, they had cut a door and built the garage in there, and they've done everything, and no one has said anything to them. And I leased it on that basis because landlord told me not a problem, and so did the guy that leased it to me, sold me the business, said it wasn't a problem. So, and that's what I went by, sir. So now I find out that now they tell me it can't even be used as even a storage, never mind garage, because it used to be offices. So I called him today. I said, you can't even use this building as a storage, so why are you even leasing it to me? I couldn't even just store cars in there in the snow. So, he's like, oh, really? And this is a gentleman who's had the land for 30 years over there, more than that. So I'm sure he knew the rules, But I got a lot of things wrong when I bought it there. A lot of things were said to me that weren't true, that I paid so much to get in there, and they weren't really very upfront with me when I bought the business about what I need to do and what has to be done.
Yeah, I have some sympathy for that, but I just, as the sole proprietor of that LLC, you need to take initiative and really make sure everything's done like 1,000%.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
I understand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Councilor Churchill, please.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Not to keep you at the podium forever, sir, but I've got a couple of concerns that I'd just like to reiterate. When the building inspector sent someone down and told you to vacate the building,
Yes.
how many days ago was that? Last week?
About 5 days.
Okay. Today, and I'm going to quote, I sent the local inspector down, I won't quote his name, to 650 Washington Street at 3:15 p.m. to make sure that the tenant had vacated the building. He found just the opposite. There were more cars in the building than before, and there was a car in the lift. So, right there, I'm not saying that you're responsible, but it seems it's going to come back to you. That should have happened. You should have obeyed that order.
He asked me to cease work, not to vacate the building.
No, yes, he said that. I talked to him when he gave you that order.
He asked me to cease work on the mechanic work. We ceased work. We took everything down. We locked the doors. As a matter of fact, when he got there, everything was locked. All the lights were down. And the cars that were in there, because it's snowing, we got to move cars somewhere so we can plow.
That's not an easy thing to solve, but as my colleague said, the burden was on you, and you should have vacated the building. He meant get the cars out of there. It's not on your licensing permit. And not to relate the first thing with Mrs. McKenna, and I thought, I felt a little sympathetic for you when you told me that when we sat down with Jamie and you said, well, this is a costly matter, but the only thing you would have lost by taking the car back, this is just my opinion, is the 11,000 miles that you say were on it. You could have fixed the car and sold it, but you didn't, and it turned into, and I had told you at the time, that if I get another complaint, I'm gonna ask this honorable body to have a public hearing. I think what you're guilty of is in some cases is probably, and it's just my opinion, you've made some bad decisions with your business, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for the speaker? Councilor Parika?
I don't mean to belabor this point, but I find it almost impossible for someone to drive 11,000 miles in 30 days of having a vehicle
Not
when
30 days,
she-
6 months.
He did say 6 months.
So when did she surrender the vehicle to you?
She never did.
She has the vehicle still currently, but she had to purchase another car because she couldn't utilize that other one. Okay.
She never surrendered.
All right, because I'm looking at, from the mileage on the vehicle purchase date was 116,791, and after getting it back after that month, in that 30 days, it was 17,986.
Yeah, and now it's like in 126 something.
Are there any other questions for the speaker? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Hearing none. Now, Councilor Churchill, do you see any reason to continue this public hearing?
No, Mr. President, I do not.
Okay, thank you very much. So based on the testimony received, as well as the recommendation of Councilor Churchill, the chair of the Elections Committee, I'm going to declare that public hearing closed. And Mr. Churchill, do you want to say anything about what the procedure will be at this point? You're going to be taking this under advisement, et cetera?
This will come out of the public hearing and go to a full council for a vote.
But not this evening. The vote will not be this evening.
So it's down the road. The administrator or from the honorable body will let them know through the clerk's office what's going on.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Can I ask a question,
Yes,
Mr.
you may.
President? Is it inappropriate for me to follow him outside and speak to him?
Him being...
Yes.
This gentleman.
Oh, I was you were pointing at Mr. Denley. I didn't...
No, not Mr. Denley. He won't listen to anything I say.
I don't know.
I don't know. It is a public hearing. I would say no, that probably would not be appropriate because we
No,
have
it's
it a public
closed.
hearing. I know that it's
Closed.
going forward. The public hearing is closed.
Closed.
So once it's closed, it's closed.
All right.
So, okay. Okay, so again, that public hearing is closed and it'll be now back into the License Committee. They'll be discussing it at a subsequent meeting and then coming out with a recommendation sometime in the future.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And, okay, we have one more public hearing this evening. Can you read the notice of that, please?
Public hearing relative to the city's capital improvement program for FY 2016 to 2020.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to speak in favor? Is there anyone here to speak in favor relative to the capital improvements program? Is there anyone here to speak in opposition? Anyone to speak in opposition? Is there anyone here to speak neither for nor against? Anyone to speak neither for nor against? Councilor Conti, since this is in your committee, and I know we're still having the meetings with the department heads, and as I had mentioned at the prior meeting, my intention is to continue this till the 3rd of March. Do you concur with that?
Yes, Mr. President, we will not be meeting with the rest of the departments until the conclusion of the next 2 Mondays.
Right, there's no meeting tomorrow night.
There's no meeting tomorrow night. So.
I learned that today.
It's so confusing with all the snow dates. So I do want to keep the public hearing open until we get to the very end because
Right,
in some respects, the very last hearing we have is the most interesting.
absolutely.
And I really want the public to be able to see and hear that and then have an opportunity to come and comment. Thank you, Mr.
Very
President.
good, thank you. So I'm going to continue that public hearing until the 3rd. We may go beyond that. I did not expect that many people would show up tonight to speak since we're still in process, again, due to all the snowstorms on postponing stuff. Okay? So thank you. So that does conclude all of our public hearings for this evening. Let's see. Let's see. I'd like to go on to the reading of the mayor's communication at this time. I do plan to take a recess at the end of communications, a brief one.
February 17th, 2015. Dear Municipal Councilors, I respectfully submit for confirmation by your honorable body the appointment of Ashley Candalis to fill an expired 2-year term on the Youth Commission, term to expire February 2017. There are copies in your packets.
Thank you. Personnel and Human Services Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Acting Superintendent of Water, Paul Kennedy, regarding the need for funds to conduct a peer review to evaluate stormwater management system presented by Horsley Witten Group for the storage vehicle maintenance building at West Street. In addition, it may be required that a second peer review be conducted. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to appropriate $6,000 from Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings account to fund 3316 water storage facility towards the project costs. There are copies in your packets.
Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from Acting Superintendent of Water, Paul Kennedy, regarding the need for funds to purchase 600 hydrant markers. The city has over 2,000 fire hydrants, and this purchase will be a start to be able to locate hydrants during snow events. These markers will be enough to mark all hydrants on Route 123 and Route 152. Therefore, I hereby request your honorable body to appropriate $7,194 from Water Enterprise Fund retained earnings to Water Enterprise Fund supplies, water, and wastewater. There are copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
I respectfully submit a communication from City Auditor Deborah Gould regarding the need to separate costs associated with Winter Storm Juno. As a result of Winter Storm Juno, various departments accrued overtime while clearing snow and/or providing essential public safety functions. This overtime is reimbursable under FEMA should the city be in a position to take advantage of such an opportunity, which has yet to be determined. The criteria for such overtime is reimbursable under FEMA is different from the standards established in Massachusetts general law, which allows the city to deficit spend for snow removal. Reimbursement under FEMA it details emergency protective measures, which include costs related to police and fire service not directly related to the literal action and removal of snow. With the anticipation of receiving reimbursement for the overtime associated with Winter Storm Juno, 2 accounts have been created to meet the city's obligation with the departments and/or job functions not allowable as detailed in Mass General Law. Therefore, I respectfully request your honorable body to appropriate $1,016.16 from undesignated fund, general government free cash to emergency management police blizzard overtime, and $12,156.25 from undesignated fund balance, general government free cash to emergency management fire blizzard overtime. There are copies in your packets.
Public Works Committee, please.
And it is signed sincerely, Kevin J. Dumas, Mayor.
Thank you. And any other communications, please?
I have a communication dated July 1st, 2014 from Jamie McKenna, 18 Newton Street, South Attleboro, Mass, relative to a complaint against AOK used auto sales, doing business as AOK Car Sales, 650 Washington Street, South Attleboro. Contacted Councilor Parika on February 7th, won the arbitration for Lemon Law on February 15th, awarded the amount for the car, and must return the vehicle to AOK. She has tried to contact Mr. Ahern multiple times, and he has not returned her call.
License Committee, please.
I have a communication from Judy Cady relative to a complaint against AOK Used Auto Sales, doing business as AOK Car Sales, 650 Washington Street, South Attleboro, Mass.
License Committee, please.
I have a communication from Building Inspector Douglas Semple relative to AOK Used Car Sales, doing business as AOK Car Sales, 650 Washington Street, South Attleboro, Mass. Violation.
License Committee, please.
And that's all I have this evening.
Okay. Thank you. If I entertain a motion to go into the Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We're now in the Committee of the Whole. Is there anyone with business to bring before the attention of the City Council? Now would be the appropriate time. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to arise.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. We're now back to, I am going to entertain a motion for a recess. Brief
Second.
recess. I have to check on a matter. And also, is there any other committees that needed to be meeting? I know Council Conley had mentioned to you that I would provide time during this time if you so desired also. So maybe during the recess or just after, if you're going to be meeting, you can be doing that at this time. So I would entertain a motion for a recess.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We're in recess at 8:07. So I think he'd be
Sounds good.
good to go.
Didn't know we were gonna be discussing this.
Waiting for the red light to go on.
Is there really a
was
red
on.
light up there?
Just taking a picture of the back of my head.
Okay, you're up.
That's the best side.
It's the best side. I'd like to call the Capital Improvement and City Development Committee to order. Gentlemen, I do not have any business to bring before you tonight, but I need to have a discussion with you. So I need your attention. Councilor Thibodeau,
Dr. Thibodeau.
Sorry.
I need your attention.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We did have questions for Superintendent Kennedy during our last meeting, and he has responded with the answers. And I've asked Linda to circulate that to you and all other councilors.
Thank you.
Superintendent Dubuque is still working on the answers. Our questions to him were a little bit more challenging, and so I expect him to take a little bit longer, but I gave him until March 4th to respond, and I'm sure that he will respond by then. I had a conversation with President Cook last night that I want to have with you this evening, and I can't talk to you except in a meeting. That's the only reason why we're having a meeting tonight. In addition to reminding you that the next capital improvement meeting is Monday, February 23rd. There's no meeting tomorrow night.
Right.
And then the last meeting is Monday, March 2nd, and they're both at 5 o'clock. And they'll be held here, and they'll be televised, and we'll go through as we have been going through in the past. What I want you to start thinking about over the next 15 days is the general discussion that we're going to have after we've completed our sessions with the department heads. And I'm contemplating changing the direction of the message to the mayor this year a little bit more dramatically than we have changed it in the past. And it has slowly been moving from where it was to where it is. But I was thinking of the message in two ways. If I was mayor, or if you were mayor, what would you want to hear from the council in a message about capital improvements? And as a councilor, what is it that you want to say to the mayor about capital improvements? And I'm thinking that the message to the mayor is going to be less specific this year and more general, that the councilors in the committee and the councilors in general are thinking more along the lines of this arena than that arena. That we have experienced in the years that we have been councilors, that it's the emergency measures that get funded each year. Regardless of all the preparation we do in capital improvements, we take care of the things that have to be taken care of because we're not flush with cash. So the reason why I'm putting this out into the public and to you now is so that there's an opportunity for contemplation and some feedback before we sit down to have our discussion. And I expect the rest of the councils outside the community to be thinking about this as well, because this is it's not a radical departure from what we've been doing, but it is a little bit different. And I do want this to be a letter that reflects your opinions collectively, and that's a challenge with this body to do that, as the president knows. It's a, which is why I spoke to him first. I wanted him to give it some thought as well. So if you have any comments in this regard, I'd like to hear about them tonight, if you have something off the top of your head that you think is appropriate. Otherwise, I'm prepared to close the meeting. Yes, Councilor Denley.
Well, we had kind of discussed this in previous capital improvements meetings, like what to best do. I think there's two things that we should make clear and articulate. The first you mentioned previously, which is things that if it comes down, we are all likely to fund. So like unanimous consensus things where we think, oh, everyone thinks this is a good project at a right price and this is the right time for it. So things that the administration, if they want to check off the list, they know they'll get little resistance from us. That's one thing. So that's like things we all like. Then projects that we would like to see the administration take action on if they can. So those might be projects that we think have a specific significance, or projects that are particularly important to one or more of us, or something like that. Maybe a project that could be received through a grant, something like that. So I think the mayor will know these are specifically important to the councilors if I can get these. And these are things that if I see need for, the council agrees with and could be voted through easily. So I think if we could give the administration those two things, they'll be in a good position come the following year. Of course, we'll take care of emergencies, but they'll know the sentiment of the council, and they'll know other kind of pet projects, which can be grant funded or who knows, funded through other sources that we might like to see them take action on as well. So those two things would be important to me in the message.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Councilor Churchill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I only have 1 year experience on this honorable body with what I have 26 years of trying to get things. And I understand when you made the statement that things, the cash is flush, and last year we prioritized the emergencies. My concern would be there were a few things that came before us that were not emergencies that I felt was in the best interest of the city as an emergency, and I would like to address those kinds of things this year. In spite of what the department head felt was down the road, some of those things I thought should be emergencies or something that prioritized the city to look at. And again, I'm realizing that what comes down from the mayor's office is going to be what he thinks is affordable and what is necessary. And we all know that even if we don't fund something and it breaks, it's going to come back here anyways. So I don't think we can escape the emergencies, but I would like to look at things that might break, and I think we discussed some of them with the school committee that may not be a priority with them, but if it does break, it's definitely going to be an emergency. And we need to look at those things too.
Very good. Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman, I really have to give it some more thought, because even though we talked about it in general terms, but we talked about, seemed to be more emphasis at the time about choosing a date that we were going to have the general discussion, rather than what the specifics are. I don't disagree with my colleagues from what has been said so far. And as Councilor Churchill said, regardless of what we put in as our preferences or our desire to see one thing done over another thing, the mayor is going to make the decision on an as-needed basis with the monies that he has to work with for that. One of the things that doesn't always come down with the desire to do project A, B, or C is the amount of debt that we're carrying and how much more debt we're allowed to carry, and how much debt is coming off what we're carrying already. And I think that has to be something that that kind of information we should be looking at the same time, so that we're not asking the mayor to go forward with something that would be unreasonable and that would be dead on arrival because he just does not have the funding to do so. So I think that we need to be reasonable in what we're asking for, and just as it's the mayor's responsibility by charter to identify the source of funding when the booklet is developed and sent down to us, I think we have to share in the responsibility to make sure that we're not exceeding the amount of debt limit that we're allowed to carry to begin with, and those things that can be paid for with cash or from borrowing from our own funds to be paid back, if in fact it's a case of a grant or something of that nature, where we know we're going to get some money of the dollar amount that we're spending back. For instance, let's take the snow funding just as an example of something that we will get back at some point in time. It may take 2 or 3 years. You never know what the schedule is with that kind of reimbursement, but it'll be closer to half of a dollar, a little bit more or a little bit less, whatever the determination is at that point in time per storm. That's the kind of reimbursement we would see, and it wouldn't necessarily fall under capital improvements, except if, in fact, we had equipment that either died or was damaged during the point in time when you had to use it in order to clear public safety routes, for instance. One of the things that we don't discuss very often, but it does come up from time to time, is that in our city we have extra responsibilities because we have a community hospital based in our city. We also have a district court, which is based in our city. So we have extra responsibilities that other communities don't have because of those very heavily used community buildings, if you will. So I think I need some more thought to refine my suggestions a little bit better. But I'd be more comfortable with just going ahead and trying to nail down a date tonight as far as when we're going to hold the meeting.
I appreciate your comments, and to address your comments, I will speak with Ethel tomorrow to ask her if she would feel comfortable addressing the Capital Improvements Committee before we sit down for a general discussion. Thinking either March 9th or March 16th, both Monday nights, for our general discussion night. Is that congruent with what you were thinking?
Yes.
And you?
Yeah, I would say March 9th, because in case there's snow, which there has been, that would let us delay it by 1 week and
Yeah.
still have it in time for a public hearing.
So March 9th is good with you,
Yes,
Councilman?
I would agree with you.
So we'll tentatively say March 9th. I will talk to Ethel tomorrow. I think we value her opinion as an elected official regarding the debt service, and
Yeah,
since that comes out of her department. And I'll ask her if she can come to speak to us before March 9th. And if she can't, then maybe we'll move March 9th out to March 16th. Okay?
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to bring in front of the body? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I declare the Capital Improvements Committee closed at 8:34. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so the regular meeting of the Municipal Council back to order at 8:34. We'll be proceeding with committee reports. We'll begin with Council Denley, please.
Thank you, President Cook. Reporting to the Committee on Ordinances, Elections, and Legislative Matters. We have no business tonight. However, I'd like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Churchill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for licensing from the docket of February 3rd, 2015. I move to approve the application for a new 2015 Class 2 auto license from State Auto Wholesales, 885 Washington Street, Mass. 7 customer parking, 34 display spaces.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
This is basically, we've reviewed this, the individual was here, and I have no concerns about this license.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter requires a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
That's all I have, Mr. President. I call for subcommittee meeting at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Conti.
Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
Reporting for the Capital Improvements and City Development Committee, we have no business to bring before the council this evening, but we'd appreciate a meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council White.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting from Zoning and Land Use, we have no business this evening. However, we'd like to call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Kirby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, too, for Budget Appropriations, have no business this evening, but call for a committee meeting next week at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Blair.
Thank you, President Cook. I
You're welcome.
also have no business public works this evening, but I'd like to take the opportunity at this time to thank all of municipal employees, DPW, the employees from our other departments who have kicked in over the last 2 weeks with our snow. We have a number of local companies that have come forward with their equipment and bypassed some much higher paying jobs to help us out. I think that our men on DPW, forestry, rec, water, wastewater, who help out on the plowing and the snow removal have gone way beyond expectations. I know we've had this much snow in the past, but not in such a short period of time. I know not everybody's satisfied out there, you know, with the speed in which things are coming, but Mr. Conti's been out of town, and he's assured me that we're in pretty good shape compared to some other towns. And I just think it's appropriate for us to thank everybody that's worked so hard over the last few weeks to try to make these streets and sidewalks as safe as humanly possible with the equipment and the manpower that's available to us. So my heart goes out to these guys, and they go home after 30 hours of work, and they still got a driveway to clean and whatnot. So we're very, very fortunate to have the work ethics of our employees to put out the way they put out in these emergencies. And a round of applause to these guys.
Thank you. Council Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mr. President. Reporting for Transportation and Traffic. I have no business this evening, but would like to call for a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. Council Parikh.
Thank you. Reporting for city property and claims. I do have one motion this evening from the docket of February 17th, 2015. I move to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $24.27 from citywide reserve fund for transfer to collector interest regarding appellate tax board ATB cases concerning tax abatement settlements.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
No, we just covered it this evening in committee. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, this matter will be, requires a roll call vote, and the vote will begin with Councilor Hegney.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Mr. Thibodeau?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Waite?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Denley?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That
Welcome.
concludes the business for city property and claims for this evening, and I request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
And would you also, Councilor Parikh, please call for a committee meeting on behalf of the emergency management?
I certainly would. The Public Safety and Emergency Management has no business before this council this evening, and look to request a committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Hegney.
Thank you. I also have one item, reporting for Personnel and Human Services from the docket of February 17th, 2015. Excuse me. I move to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $15,527 from Fund 1000-359000, undesignated fund general government free cash to account 161-010-511-000, excuse me, library salary and wages to fund Attleboro Public Library's collective bargaining agreement.
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
I believe, Counselor Kirby, thank you. It took me longer to get here driving, so he did take care of this in committee, and I defer if there's anything that you'd like to add or any questions that
There were
may
no
have
questions
arisen.
asked.
Councilor Kirby?
Thank you. There were no questions asked at the time. We had handled the other areas on a previous motion, and this was a later motion for the library. So it's in the same vein as that other previous motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and thank you on that, and as you said, that it was talked about in committee.
Thank you. Are there any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll proceed with a vote. This will be by roll call. The vote will begin with Councilor Denley.
Mr. Denley?
Yes.
Mr. Churchill?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Waite?
Yes.
Mr. Kirby?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
Mr. Thibodeau?
Yes.
Mrs. Parika?
Yes.
Ms. Hegney?
Yes.
President Cook?
Yes.
10 yeas, 0 nays.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That is all the businesses I have, and I was actually glad the last meeting was canceled because I just got over pneumonia. So thank you to my committee for always being there. Great group of guys that I have. Thank you very much. And call for committee meeting at the next appropriate time.
Thank you. There is no old business, but there are 2 items of new business. I first recognize Councilor Thibodeau.
Thank you, Mr. President. From the docket of March 3rd, 2015, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation, that the Director of Emergency Management and the Emergency Management Advisory Council, as described in Chapter 4 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro, develop and implement a solution to the citywide problem of removing snow or other obstacles inhibiting pedestrians from safely utilizing developed and undeveloped sidewalks adjoining existing roadways and/or roadways that otherwise will exist when accepted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Are there any comments, please?
Thank you. Is looking through, well, first of all, listening to all of the concerns of the residents in the city and of practically everybody, us included, we've all been concerned about the fact that with all the snows that we've been whacked, all the storms that we've been whacked with within a short amount of time, that we haven't had any kind of an emergency management plan that would take into consideration a procedure that would make sure that sidewalks are cleaned by a certain time with a priority list that may be set up with the schools in mind, so that the schools wouldn't have to have so many snow days out of school for their walkers. Other kinds of procedures that the emergency management by their name and by the name of their advisory council would have the expertise to come up with different ideas that would be covered in this ordinance that I'm proposing, so that not just this problem specifically, but these types of problems, especially where we've had the governor declare an emergency, and whether it would mean that the Director of Emergency Management, along with the approval of the mayor, would have the authority to request National Guard troops when they are activated by the governor's declaration of an emergency into the city to help with the disposal of snow, specifically with the sidewalks in mind, but to utilize that resource in other ways as well. And for instance, where we have a reserve center located in our city that I realize is a reserve center and it's not a National Guard center. However, they are both military institutions that the location we have in Attleboro deals specifically in engineering heavy equipment. And they have a huge amount of equipment that could be available to our community and surrounding communities for this task and others that might be able to be utilized during a declared emergency by the governor and or the city's mayor. So it just seems to me that with all of the chatter that has gone on within the community and others, as I said earlier, including ourselves, that perhaps this was where that kind of a proposal could be developed and planning could take place, solutions could be sought, perhaps cooperative measures could be explored, all under our existing ordinances.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Councilor Churchill.
The late Mayor Keane did get the use of the National Guard in the city of Attleboro on a blizzard of 78. I think they were here for 5 or 6 days. That might be in the archive somewhere how they did it, and unless things have changed, you might have a running start as how that's done.
Thank you. Councilor Conti?
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to compliment Councilor Thibodeau for the approach that this new business takes, because I think it's the correct approach. We need to be careful of what we start, because it can turn into something that we never intended. Attached to your new business proposal is likely to be some kind of funding, and in the blizzard of Nemo, I received a lot of complaints of snow, lack of snow removal. And I conducted a full investigation down at the DPW yard. Councilor Blair was there, Bobby Rougeau and John Clover was there. We sat down, we talked about what was going on, and then we had a meeting with the mayor and the fire chief and the police chief, and we had a second meeting with the mayor and the police chief and the fire chief. And I wrote a comprehensive white paper for the people who complained to me about the snow removal. This storm, this year in 2014, I have not received a single complaint, which is remarkable. I think we're doing better. And I agree with what Councilor Blair said earlier tonight about the performance of our city workers, who I'm sure are sicker of the snow than you and I are.
Absolutely.
But your approach of trying to take the emergency management avenue, I think, is the proper approach, because that approach has the best and brightest minds, and my experience is that they consider things intensely before they take action. And sometimes that slows things down, but I think it's for the betterment. So I'd like to compliment you on taking this approach, and I will support your measure, and that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Any other concerns or comments? Hearing none, we'll have a voice vote on this. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'm going to be referring this matter to the ordinance committee. Oops.
I have a
My pen ready?
procedural question.
Yes.
Second, President Cook. Mr. Thibodeau serves on the ordinance committee with me, which means we cannot talk about this outside of posted meetings. Am I allowed to get backup information on new business like we do with the mayor's communications? Am I allowed to get that from Mr. Thibodeau?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, Ms.
So
Thibodeau,
that you can pass it along.
if you
to
could
him.
give me as much of a head start as possible by just, because I think you're way more familiar with this than I am. So just to give it to Linda, because we can't communicate. And then that'll end up in my box, and that'll give me a great head start on being able to work towards this without having to have post meeting after post meeting after post meeting. So that would just be awesome.
Yeah, I would be happy to.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Right, yeah, I would envision that on this particular matter, I know the related matter will be getting to momentarily. I do envision that there will be, and I'm looking forward to the discussions that we have at the council committee level as we try to deal with this particular situation, going forward. By the same token, I was also going to suggest perhaps that the white paper that Mr. Conti wrote a couple of years ago, I'm sure you saw the copy, and Linda may have a copy.
Yep,
That
she does.
belong to the ordinance committee would also be helpful.
Yeah.
At that point. And again, even in similar related matters to what we're going to be going to in a few moments. I do envision a lot of discussion. The only problem would be just, talking with somebody else that's on the committee, but just in terms of exchanging information for you to review, going through Linda, that would be appropriate.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilor Curran?
If I can make a comment on that, we can always share information with each other. What we can't share is opinion.
Yeah.
So if I need to share my data with Mr. Conti or with you or with any of you, we can always share information with each other. It's that we're not forbidden from talking to each other, even outside of this chamber.
Right.
We can talk to each other. What we can't do is begin to share our opinions. I think we should go this way, I think we should go that way. Here is my data, this is the research I did, you need that, we can share it with all of us, we can disseminate it through Linda, so we can talk to each other.
Yes.
But we cannot share, we're not supposed to share our opinion, except in the horseshoe.
Right.
Right.
And that's what's a little different than, sometimes we get so worried about the open meeting law that we avoid some of the things that we should be doing. And the fact is, we can talk to each other, it's that we can't share opinions.
Discuss.
Yes.
And as I mentioned, this is an issue that I'm sure is going to be one of the, I think one of the more lively discussions that we will have in 2015, because this is a hot button issue with this unprecedented amount of snow that we have gotten. As I mentioned when I was speaking at an event last night, I've lived in New England my entire life. I've never seen so much snow in such a short period of time with no melting in between, ever. So, and again, this is something that every community is wrestling with. How do you get rid of this stuff, at this point, obviously. Councilor Blair.
I think it's important that, as Walter's brought out, we look into it objectively, not a knee-jerk reaction to, a telephone call from a constituent and whatnot, because I just want to reiterate that the guys out there, our administration and everything's done one hell of a job with all this snow in such a short period of time. Is there a better way to handle it? Maybe. And we look into it. And I said maybe. We can buy all the equipment in the world. We still got to have the personnel to put in them. Thank God we didn't have any power outages with this to speak of.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse off. So
Okay.
Again, I want to thank those guys out there that work so hard, and just because we're looking into it, we don't, I know none of us here think that they shirked any duty in cleaning a sidewalk or getting a
Thank you.
street plow.
If I may, Mr. President, just to belay any concerns that Mr. Blair or anyone else may have, this proposal is not a critique of any of the hardworking people that we have in the city. And I would like to include our police and fire in that as well, because, their job doesn't stop just because we have 3 feet of snow on the ground or whatever the amount happens to be. And this is certainly not a reflection of something that they didn't do to the best of their ability with the circumstances they had in which to work under. This is a way, in my opinion, just to try to make things better for them as well as for the community as a whole. But no, I agree with you, Pete. One of the things that has impressed me in my tenure as a councilman is I never realized until I became a councilman just how many dedicated city employees we have who go way above and beyond what their job requirements are more often than not, and do not blow their own horn about it. And I think they're just to be congratulated on all of the things they do, even the things that we, or some people may consider mundane, because they're daily duties. But they do a lot more than they get paid for, that's for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
a lot.
Mr. President, I appreciate that.
Thank you. Council Parika?
My new business?
Yes. your new
Thank
business.
you. From the docket of March 3rd, 2015, I move to refer the following matter to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation. At the request of Attleboro departmental personnel and constituents across the city, I would like to refer to the appropriate committee for study and recommendation a citywide sidewalk snow removal ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's in order. Are there any comments, please?
There are. Agree. This is, I enjoy the fact that Walter and I are looking at a concern from 2 different angles. I think that kind of highlights the capabilities of a council, and that's why we have a variety of personalities here to do that. This is not a judgment as to how the DPW or any of the contractors have done their job. I think that this is actually a way to appropriately set expectations of our community. I've had multiple conversations with gentlemen from the DPW. I've had phone calls just similarly to, well, I know that I've been inundated with a variety of phone calls, a magnitude of phone calls, and the request has been very specific. Can we even just start the discussion as to whether or not to create an ordinance for a citywide sidewalk snow removal? The city did have an ordinance, and it was removed from the books in November of 1999. It's specifically related to the downtown area because we had absentee landlords who weren't doing their due diligence and removing snow in a timely fashion, so it would gridlock the downtown. But over the course of the last 15 years, we've had an influx, a flooding, if you will, of the city of Attleboro from people from other communities. And there are ways that there are individuals who live here now, who Attleboro is their hometown, and they grew up shoveling their sidewalk, because that's what the city and the town that they lived in required them to do. So they called me and said, what can we do about this? And I said, let's start the conversation. This is not in any way, shape, or form a knee-jerk reaction. Personally, I'm not sure. There's a lot of work that would have to be done, and thankfully, Councilor Denley is going to take it over and be able to manage some of that. I had a very vibrant discussion on my Facebook page about it. I had lots of people like, woohoo, thank you. We have a lot of walkers in the city and dog walkers. And, as someone who drives around our community every single day, all I've seen is people in the streets. The DPW has finally come through. They were just inundated. We've never had levels of snow like this. And again, I think that in a variety of ways, the expectations of our community were kind of high. And I think we've done a very good job of kind of getting to them. But I think we need to have an appropriate adjustment. And everyone needs to take pride in their community, and if it means shoveling your front walkway, so be it. And so, again, I just, at the request of the department and constituents, we wanted to start the conversation. So here's our conversation.
Thank you. Let's see, those comments. Comes to Blair, then comes to Headney, and then comes to Churchill. Comes to Blair.
Excuse me, Ms. Parika. A suggestion of what department and who suggested a sidewalk ordinance?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
You said on the suggestion of a department? that we have a
Individuals.
sidewalk
Yep.
ordinance?
Individuals that I've spoken with in a variety of departments throughout the city.
What,
I'm happy to have a conversation. It's a variety of the departments. I go through the whole city hall and talk to everybody in a whole bunch of different departments. So I am 100% supportive of our DPW, and they're happy with what they've done.
I'm just amazed that a city employee or city department head would make that type of suggestion. You know, that, I know that there are some things, and as I said, on Walter's way of doing it, yeah, let's look at it. But you know, there's a lot to look at. I've looked at that in the past, and some of us that have been on the council in the past have looked at your suggestion. And as many bright spots there is to it, there's at least that many flaws. It doesn't work on all occasions. I was involved when we pulled it uptown from the sidewalks, and the city agreed to take over downtown so there could be more uniform. If you go down Emery Street, any of these streets, you have people who live in those houses that aren't capable of doing their own sidewalks. You have people that can't afford it, to hire somebody to do it. You have subdivisions out there, got a sidewalk on one side of the street. Yeah, it'd be nice if everybody got out and done it. But there's as many dull spots to that particular legislation as bright spots, and I do think it's a little knee-jerk reaction at this time, so.
But
I truly can't believe that you would get department heads.
I didn't say department heads. If I may.
I just want to remind, this is just.
Okay, nah, we can stop, I just.
No, all I was going to say was, as with all new business items, it's just bring forward to put into committee so that we can have subsequent discussions. That's all that this is at this point. It's up to the council to decide whether or not they want to put in committee, as with all new business items. But again, at this point, we're not really here to discuss the merits one way or the other on any of these items. This is something that, when we get into committee, that we'll be able to look at, the good, the bad, and the ugly of any item all the way down the line. So, Councilor Hagney and then Councilor Churchill.
Thank you. I was just going to say the same thing as you, that we're going to get it into committee, have discussion. The only thing that I'm thinking is, as it's coming in, is we're saying a sidewalk ordinance, but I don't have a sidewalk in front of my house. So, and I have walkers that go to the bus, so even maybe with the terminology used, because I know even getting fire hydrants shoveled out, but with the sidewalks, we have walkers, but do we say 50 feet from your house, 20 feet from your house? Like, there's just some things, I think, once we get into discussion, the only thing that I have a problem with is saying it's a sidewalk type of ordinance. So once we get it in and have business discussion, because I've even said this when Councilor Conte has brought stuff in, at least I think that you should have the ability to bring it in to get discussion on an item.
Yeah, needless to say, Mr. Denley and the Ordinance Committee will have their hands full, looking at all the various things, and again, the purpose is get into committee.
But I'm just saying,
and
if
we
I
can talk
vote
about it.
no, it's just based upon terminology that of an ordinance, but as I said, I wouldn't vote no, because I do think that everybody should be afforded the ability as a council to bring new business in. And I'm done. Thanks.
Right, and again, a lot of these are the type of details, I mean, when I first learned about these two particular items that were coming in, I figured that, as with a lot of things, there's a lot of unknowns. And again, the reason for getting in the committee is to try and resolve some of those and go back and forth. I mean, for example,
Exactly.
just, when you're going to talk about clearing a sidewalk, I mean, other communities have these, and it's not the panacea to all the problems. I know I have traveled, as Mr. Connie has, in some other communities, and have experienced where other communities that have this ordinance, and it all depends many times on just how ambitious the homeowner really is, in terms of, do I just do a path so that I can walk through, or do I clear the entire thing? And I personally experienced that in a couple of communities in recent weeks. And it all depends upon the person. And again, it's something else for the ordinance committee to really be looking at. Councilor Churchill?
Thank you, Mr. President. I second the motion only because I think we need to discuss it, but there's probably more negative things about having a sidewalk ordinance than there is a positive thing, but I think we need to discuss it so everybody knows that we are looking at that. And rather than spend the rest of the night here, like a snowstorm like this, I don't see how anybody could shovel their sidewalk. The city has to do it. And I think we have to discuss all the ramifications of how much snow, how little snow, but that's not tonight. But I just wanted to say, I wanted to bring it up for discussion. I think we need to talk about it.
Yeah, for those of you who knew, I mean, 2 years ago, this had come up after Nemo, as Council Connie mentioned. It's come up periodically in the past. Interestingly, it never comes up in the summer, though.
No, we have regular things.
Except the only thing that comes up in the summer is whether we go into deficit spending, for snow removal, so.
If I may, President Cook, I've asked for this as to be studied and recommended.
Absolutely.
I have not put together specific wording as it pertains to an ordinance. I haven't done anything. And again, and I will stress this again, it is at the request. I may not necessarily agree with this. I think a PR program sponsored through the city would be significantly more effective than legislating this. However, let's have the discussion, and that's the sole reason that we're putting it out on the floor tonight.
And again, this motion, as with all other items that come under new business, they're always part of the boilerplate language is this, to refer it for study and recommendation, no matter what the matter is, right? And so the purpose at this point is just to consider whether or not we actually want to put it in committee. So if there are no other comments, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. I'm going to be referring this matter, as with the other item, to the ordinance committee. Mr. Henley, did you have a comment, or?
I can just explain how I plan to move forward with it real quick. So, and this is important for George, it's based on the time frames of ordinances, we have to have public hearings and stuff. This will not be resolved this winter. It's a time frame impossibility. So what I plan to do is do my homework and work with the city solicitor, look at similar cities and towns, both geographically close to us and in Massachusetts population-wise close to us, which maybe have policies or ordinances or PR campaigns or something that have worked. I then would hope that after clearing that through the city solicitor, to bring forward a few options to the city council. I'm talking like mid to late summer, with the hope of getting it voted out in late summer, so that up or down, people going into next winter will know what the ordinances are in place and what to expect. So this is a long-term process that I do plan to do during the summer, when feelings about this might be more tempered. And it's something that I do plan to take very seriously, and I hope to present the council with many options, and as our wise body decides which is best, so shall it be.
I like your ambition.
It might be a full discussion on a hot night sometime in the summer.
I was going to say the public hearing might be a 4-night hearing.
So thank you all for your, and also for your understanding and patience as we've had to cancel in recent weeks. And I can tell you earlier today, when the snow started coming down and they were talking about changing the forecast to maybe more so than they had originally predicted at about 8 o'clock this morning, Linda and I actually had a discussion about whether or not we might not end up meeting tonight. So I'm glad that we were able to finally get here. And again, next Monday night will be the next capital improvements, not tomorrow night. I had announced, I think last night, that they were going to be tomorrow night, but actually it's going to be on Monday night. So enjoy the rest of the week off, and I would entertain at this time a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? That's adjourned at 9:07. Thank you.
Going out now.